They revealed the shocking story of the angel who dragged a prophet by the hair. Few knew what truly happened that night. A dark sky hung over the ancient hills of Judah, shrouding secrets and whispering winds. The air crackled with a foreboding tension, as if the very earth sensed an upheaval was near. The townsfolk huddled close, casting furtive glances at the heavens, their hearts pounding in time with the thunder that rolled ominously. This was the night the prophet Elijah faced his greatest trial. Most knew him as a man of God, a voice of fire and fury. But what lay behind the fervent prayers and the blazing altars? On the cusp of despair, Elijah found himself alone in the wilderness. His spirit was heavy, his voice a mere whisper among the shadows. Suddenly, the night erupted. A presence, radiant and fierce, broke through the darkness. An angel, wings shimmering like starlight, descended, its feet barely grazing the ground. Elijah trembled, a mixture of awe and dread knotting in his chest. Was this a divine messenger or a harbinger of doom? The angel approached, eyes piercing through the veil of night. "Get up!" The celestial being commanded, grabbing Elijah by the hair, lifting him off the ground as if he weighed nothing. The prophet gasped, shock coursing through him. Fearful murmurs drifted from hidden places, eyes wide and hearts quickened. Who was this angel? Why was he so harsh? In that moment, the world seemed to stop. The stars shone bright, almost bearing witness to this heavenly drama. The prophesied whispers of doom, the cries for mercy all tangled in the air. People spoke in hushed tones, contradicting themselves, believing and doubting in the span of a breath. Is it punishment? Is it a calling? But what miracle lay hidden behind the angel's fierce demeanor? An inexplicable weight settled in the air, a riddle yet to be unspooled. Was it a sign of Israel's impending judgment? Or a warning of something even darker looming on the horizon? With his heart racing, Elijah's mind swirled with thoughts and fears. What did this angel want from him? Why had he torn him from despair? And as the angel raised him higher still, a question echoed in the void: would Elijah embrace the path set before him, or would he shrink into the darkness of hopelessness? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. In the aftermath of that tumultuous encounter, Elijah found himself suspended between heaven and earth, observing the angel's eyes, an endless abyss that flickered with the light of countless stars. Silence enveloped the wilderness, a deep stillness that felt both sacred and terrifying. The world around him faded, as if the heavens conspired to draw his attention solely to this moment of divine reckoning. Prophet of God, the angel spoke again, voice echoing like rolling thunder. Its tone was no longer commanding but bore a note of sorrow and urgency, as if the weight of ages pressed down upon the message to be conveyed. You cannot remain in despair. The land cries out for a leader, a vessel through whom the Lord's will may be fulfilled. His heart thudded as the angel's proclamation settled into the marrow of his bones. The shadow of doubt pressed heavily upon him. He had fled into the wilderness driven by a fear that twisted deep within his core, a fear of failure, of being forsaken by those he sought to guide. How can I lead, he whispered, when I feel so lost? The angel's gaze softened, illuminating the darkness around them. Do you not see? It urged. Your frailty is not a curse, but a vessel of strength. It is the very cracks in your spirit that will let the light of God shine forth. Only in acknowledging your weakness can you draw upon the mighty resources of heaven. As these words resonated within him, they painted a picture of hope amidst despair. Yet, a trepidation stirred within Elijah's heart. But the people have grown weary and skeptical. They worship false idols. Can one man's voice break through the cacophony of disbelief? Your voice, when rooted in truth and sincerity, is a powerful instrument, the angel replied, releasing him from its grip but remaining near. Remember the moments when fire fell from the skies and consumed the offerings upon the altar. Those days are not beyond your reach, nor the reach of the Almighty. You have not yet exhausted your calling, nor has the hand of God withdrawn from you. The clarity of the angel's wisdom brought a flickering flame of courage to Elijah's spirit, but shadows still danced at the edges of his mind. What if I fall short? What if they reject me again? I fear the wrath of my own heart more than I do the scorn of the crowd. The angel stepped closer, its presence a tapestry of warmth and light. Doubt is a byproduct of faith, an echo of the struggle within. The journey is fraught with peril, but the path of the righteous is guided by unseen hand. Recall how the Lord has sustained you, how he has brought you through the fire time and again. Trust in him, for your fears are no match for his promises. Elijah looked towards the sky now, a glimmer of dawn breaking through the clouds. The heaviness in his chest lightened, if only for a moment. Can I truly trust in the unseen? He pondered aloud, voice quivering with vulnerability. The angel nodded, sending a surge of energy that coursed through Elijah. You must. For soon the weight of your mission shall be tested, the flames of doubt rekindled, and in that hour, the echoes of his promises must be your foundation. With that, the angel began to withdraw, but not without one last penetrating gaze. Prepare your heart, for the days ahead will demand everything. The veil between belief and disbelief carries the weight of destiny. Will you rise to the challenge like the prophets before you, or will you allow the night to snuff out the flame? Elijah remained standing, the echo of the angel's words ringing within him as he watched the figure recede back into the shadows. In the quiet that followed, he was left to confront the turbulence within his soul. The dawn would surely come, but what awaited him at the end of this tumultuous journey? The weight of destiny still loomed large. Would he embrace it, or would he falter again? As Elijah stood in the solitude of the wilderness, a gentle breeze caressed his face like a whispered promise. The sun began its ascent, splashing color across the horizon, renewing his spirit with each moment. Despite the angel's words, doubt still flickered in his heart like embers in a dying fire. Could he truly fulfill the role ordained for him? He began to walk, feeling the earth firm beneath his feet, each step a reminder of his own mortality. The shadow of that celestial visit loomed large in his mind, igniting questions that flowed like a river through the valleys of his spirit. With every breath, he pondered the depth of his calling and the nature of divine purpose itself. Elijah remembered the stories of his ancestors, the great prophets who had gone before him: Moses, Isaiah, Jeremiah, each chosen yet beset by trials. They had faced kings and tyrants, wielded the truth like a sword, and endured the scorn of their people. What set them apart was their willingness to confront both their fears and the fury of the multitude, all for the glory of the one who sent them. Am I worthy of such a legacy? He asked aloud, though the air felt thick with uncertainty. Will my voice rise above the tempest of disbelief? As if in answer, a small creature scurried nearby, a hare darting between the bushes, embodying the raw instincts of survival. In that fleeting moment, Elijah felt an awakening. Life persisted against all odds, and perhaps so too could he. In the distance, a shadow loomed, a figure emerging from the trees. As Elijah's heart quickened, he steadied himself, recognizing this man draped in the dust of the road. It was Obadiah, the faithful servant of Ahab, known for his devotion to God amid treachery. Their paths had crossed during the earlier days of trial, each carrying the weight of prophecy in their blood. Elijah. Obadiah called, urgency lacing his voice. You must return. The people are gathered, their hearts heavy with doubt and despair. A word from you could ignite the spark of faith. With every stride, Elijah felt the internal struggle deepen. The angel had called him forth, yet still he hesitated, caught in the grip of contemplation. Obadiah, the land has been poisoned by falsehoods, he replied, a tremor betraying his resolve. What good is my voice when it may fall upon deaf ears? Obadiah's eyes widened with concern, but there was a fire there, too. Your voice is not your own, it is the voice of God. The Almighty has not forsaken the people. You have witnessed miracles beyond comprehension. Just as the sun breaks the night, your return could usher in a new day. Will you take the chance? Elijah allowed the weight of those words to settle upon him, wrestling with the mission that claimed his heart. The stories of his ancestors surged through memory, wrapping around him like a shroud of encouragement. Yet doubt, a persistent companion, whispered its insidious tales of failure and rejection. "That I fear the wrath of a king's displeasure," Elijah confessed softly. "What if I am met with scorn, driven away as before? What if their disbelief is insurmountable?" Obadiah stepped closer, grounding Elijah's swirling thoughts with his presence. "Do you remember the brook where the ravens fed you? Your darkest moments have been your greatest revelations. God has equipped you, preparing you for this very hour." The insistence in Obadiah's voice burned away the tendrils of fear that had taken root. As a swell of determination pulsed through Elijah, he felt the faint stirrings of hope. "So you believe I must return to proclaim the truth? What of the risk? What if the people do not heed me? Then you will have made your stand," Obadiah replied, his gaze unwavering. "And in such a stand, God's light shines starkest. Will you risk the adversity to reveal His power? Or will you allow the murmurings of doubt to keep you in the shadows?" Elijah closed his eyes for a moment, inhaling the fragrances of the earth, the whispers of the heavens converging within him. Was he to let the opportunity slip through his fingers, or would he rise like a beacon in the tempest and allow faith to conquer fear? With a resolute heart, he opened his eyes, the decision crystallizing within him, yet the fervor of uncertainty still swirled silently at the edges. "I shall go back," he declared, feeling the weight of all excluded from his proclamation. "I shall make one final plea for faith." Obadiah smiled, an affirmation brightening his features. But before they took their first step back, Elijah lingered, recalling the angel's parting words. "The veil between belief and disbelief carries the weight of destiny. Will I rise to the challenge?" What awaited them beyond the shadows was unknown, a mystery cloaked in divine purpose and human frailty. Would the flame of faith flicker or illuminate the hearts of those who had drifted into darkness? As Elijah and Obadiah retraced their steps, the landscape around them shifted subtly, as if reflecting the tumultuous emotions stirring within. The road ahead wound through the valley, lush yet troubled, where the remnants of drought and despair intermingled. With each stride, Elijah's mind began to replay the angel's visit, the gentle insistence of the divine echoing in his ears. What was the intent behind the celestial messenger's urgency? They soon approached a village heavy with the scent of fading hope. The people were scattered, their faces drawn and hardened, lost in a haze of disbelief. Elijah's heart sank at the sight. Surely, they once had joy, laughter, and faith that flourished like wildflowers, but now, shadows loomed over their spirits. Will they listen? Elijah murmured almost to himself, the weight of the moment pulling at him. Obadiah placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "You must speak," he urged. "Let not the doubts of your heart be a voice that silences the word." Without another moment to waste, they stepped into the clearing where the villagers had gathered, their eyes dull beneath the weight of hopeless waiting. Elijah felt the energy in the air shift, a collective inhalation as heads turned and whispers fluttered. There, among the scattered crowd, was Ahab, the king who reigned with fierce pride, mistrust coursing through his veins. Elijah's gaze met Ahab's, the king's expression a mix of surprise and anger. "You dare return, Elijah?" he snapped, the bitterness of their last encounter still lingering like an unsought shadow. "What could you possibly bring to my people that they have not already rejected?" Elijah took a deep breath, each inhalation grounding him, steeling his resolve. "I come not of my own accord, but sent by the Almighty. You and your people have strayed from His path, consumed by the idols of the land. It is time for repentance, a time to return to the Lord who has provided." The murmurs erupted from the crowd, uncertainty mingling with dread. Some turned their backs, unwilling to confront the truth, while others leaned forward, curiosity flaring amongst their desolation. A sudden wind stirred, rustling the leaves above, and Elijah continued, his voice rising above their discontent. "Is it not written that the heart of a broken spirit seeks restoration? You have wandered through the wastelands of unbelief. Will you not consider the road back? Ahab's face hardened, his pride a bulwark against the vulnerability that threatened to surface. And what, prophet, do you propose? Another test of fire? Another dance of divine drama? Show me evidence before I lay down my crown at the altar of your God. Elijah's heart thundered, his anger flared momentarily as he faced the obstinate ruler. In that moment, he understood the weight of the challenge before him was not merely the king's resistance, but the tribe's deeper despair. They had thrived on signs and wonders, woven into the fabric of their history, craving assurance in a time of crisis. Very well, Elijah challenged, a newfound clarity igniting his spirit. Let us gather the prophets of Baal. A competition of faith shall reveal the true God. Let fire come down. Ahab's brow furrowed, the absurdity of the moment working its way into his mind. Yet intrigue flickered in the eyes of the gathering. What was it about this challenge that stirred something deep within their souls, buried beneath layers of skepticism? Had hope begun to unfurl once more? The king, caught betwixt disbelief and curiosity, slowly nodded. So be it. Prepare the test. But know this, if you fail, the repercussions may come not only upon you but upon us all. The murmurs of the crowd swelled, a mixture of excitement and anxiety that coursed through them like fire through kindling. The stakes had been set, and in that moment, doubts began to scatter like leaves in a gust of wind. As Ahab signaled for the prophets of Baal, Elijah felt a pull in the fabric of destiny. Had he truly opened a door to his greatest victory or his ultimate downfall? The risk of faith stretched onward before him. Insatiable and unyielding. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting elongated shadows across the earth, Elijah found himself standing at a precipice not only of a physical challenge but of a spiritual reckoning. Would the unfathomable power of God surge forth, or would silence betray his presence? In the silence of anticipation, one question loomed larger than all: could this act of obedience and faith somehow rekindle the hearts of a fractured people, or would they turn again to the whispers of despair? As the sun gave way to twilight, the atmosphere crackled with a tension that seemed to echo the heavens themselves. Elijah's resolve solidified in the gathering dusk, yet uncertainty danced at the edges of his mind. The villagers still murmured among themselves, a tempest of doubt swirling in their hearts, as they awaited the arrival of the prophets of Baal. Elijah closed his eyes for a moment, drawing strength from the earth beneath his feet and the sky above his head. His thoughts wandered back to the angel's visitation. The messenger had filled him with purpose, yet left him wondering about the extent of divine intervention. Was it only to ignite faith among the people, or was a greater truth lurking just out of sight? As the prophets gathered in their colorful robes, a cacophony of voices rose with the evening breeze, their very presence resonating with the fervor that had long since abandoned the people of Israel. They strutted forth, each one donned in the finery of false promises, assured of their supposed supremacy. The contrast to Elijah's humble appearance, a simple cloak, dusted from the road, was stark, almost tragically comical. People of Israel. Elijah's voice rang out, strong and piercing through the horror of his surroundings. How long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him, but if Baal is God, then follow him. Faces turned, some reflecting confusion, some flickering with the ghost of yearning. They were caught in a snare spun by years of neglect, their souls yearning for the warmth of certainty. Yet Elijah saw, in the depths of their eyes, the flicker of hope that he dared to reignite. Then, an unexpected wind unfurled through the valley, rustling the dry leaves and caressing Elijah's skin, a gentle reminder that the Spirit was present. Was it the angel, still watching over him, anchoring his faith in the trust of the Almighty? Or was it merely the changing of the seasons that hinted at a new beginning? Prepare a bowl for yourselves and lay it on the wood, Elijah instructed the prophets of Baal, his voice firm yet compassionate. But do not set fire to it. Then call on the name of your God, and I will call on the name of the Lord. The God who answers by fire, he is God. The prophets of Baal looked at him with thinly veiled contempt. As if this prophet of Israel would dare evoke such a challenge. One hissed, but Elijah could see the glint of hesitation in their eyes. They accepted the challenge, the thrill of competition igniting their spirits even as doubt clawed at the corners of their minds. With the altar built and the bull prepared, the prophets of Baal began their dance, an elaborate display of worship that ranged from shouting to cutting themselves, drawing blood upon the altar. As the hours slipped by, Elijah leaned against a rock, a dark smile creeping across his face. Each passing moment was a further testament to the emptiness of their cries, the silence of their God accentuating their desperation. Call louder. He taunted, each word dripping with the conviction of holy humor. Perhaps he is in deep thought, or busy traveling, or he is sleeping and must be awakened. In that moment, the crowd around Elijah began to shift, a collective realization blooming beneath the weight of obstinacy. For years, they had sought after false idols, yet even the sharpest of knives could not carve hope where none resided. Fear and desperation had clouded their vision, but perhaps something deep within was unfurling, thoughts of the true God flickering like embers in a forgotten hearth. As the sun dipped lower, the prophets of Baal, exhausted and desperate, fell silent. No fire had come, just the weight of shame. And for a moment, Elijah felt a stirring in his heart, a fleeting vision of what could be if he stepped beyond mere words. With renewed fervor, he approached the altar of the Lord, repairing the fragmented stones, aligning them with care, and dousing the sacrifice with water, an act of faith defying all human logic. In every syllable spoken, he poured out his heart to God, a plea not only for fire but for the transformation of a heart plagued with loneliness. Answer me, Lord, answer me, so these people will know that you, Lord, are God, and that you are turning their hearts back again. And as the flames leapt from the altar, licking the skies with an intensity that filled the valley with astonishment, Elijah felt the swell of something deep within him. Could it be that the true miracle lay not only in the fire but in the awakening of faith among the people? As the blaze roared higher, consuming the offering, the awe in the crowd struck Elijah hard. Their eyes, once devoid of life, were now wide with wonder. Hope had been ignited, but what would they choose to do with this rekindled flame? Could the fire of faith endure, or would it ultimately be quenched by the darkness of doubt once more? In the flickering light of the fire that consumed the sacrifice, silence fell upon the multitude. Their astonishment spread like wild ivy, entwining every heart. As the smoke curled heavenward, the aroma of charred wood mingled with a palpable aura of reverence. It was a moment suspended in timelessness, a fragile balance on the knife's edge of faith and skepticism, but as the embers glowed and the people murmured among themselves, Elijah remained focused, his heart beating in tandem with the rhythm of the divine. He raised his arms to the heavens, a posture of surrender, as if inviting the Spirit to envelop not just him but every dull spirit standing in that valley. Amidst the rising heat, he felt a tug, a compelling, gentle force that seemed to grasp at the very roots of his soul, urging him to remember the calling that had set him on this path. As the murmurs in the throng grew louder, questions danced like fireflies in the dim twilight. Who is this God of Elijah? What have we forsaken? The inquiries surged like waves crashing against a shore long neglected. Yet beneath the surface of those inquiries lay a deeper question, one that remained unspoken but echoed in the hearts of the crowd: can this spark of faith allow us to change? As if reading their thoughts, Elijah turned to face them. The Lord is God. He declared once more, the words ringing true not just in the air but in the very marrow of his being. He calls you back, not just to life but to purpose. Yet even as he spoke, shadows slithered at the edges of earnest faith. From the crowd emerged a figure clothed in the vestiges of apathy, a priest of Baal whose face darkened with rage. Elijah! He bellowed, his voice trembling with venom. You think one act of divine fire can unmake our worship? The public eye may bow to your God today, but the heart retains its whispers. Elijah's heart sank momentarily under the weight of doubt. He had witnessed the transformation of the crowd, a tentative flicker of belief igniting where once there had been mere ash. Yet here stood a testimony of hardened resolve, a reminder that faith does not merely bloom, it wrestles against roots long buried in the earth of familiarity. With a resolve that transcended the immediate conflict, Elijah addressed this priest, his voice low but burning with intensity. If God is to be known, then the heart shall tremble in his presence. What awaits those who turn away when his truth is revealed? But the priest, his inner turmoil evident, shook his head, recoiling as if from an unseen force. What is this awakening you speak of? We have built our lives around Baal. Families cling to him as a lifeline. His eyes darted toward the crowd, searching for allies among the faces that had begun to soften, yet he found only uncertainty staring back. In that moment, the very ground seemed to hum beneath them. Elijah sensed the Spirit again, a spiraling presence that urged him to dig deeper, to investigate the layers of these strongholds that had rooted themselves in the hearts of men. This was not merely about kneeling before the living God, it was a call to challenge their very identities, an edict to wrestle with the truth of who they had become, then let them know. He cried, fervor igniting the night. Let them confront the darkness that clouds their sight. For our God lives, and the day of reckoning has come, not only for prophets but for all. The wind seemed to flourish, a responsive ripple shooting through the crowd of onlookers. Each of them felt that tug, an echo of something more profound awakening inside. But the village remained divided, the whispers struggled to coalesce into a definitive roar. A murmur passed through, igniting memories of lost days, dreams unpursued. What lies ahead? Mused a young woman in the throng, her eyes now filled with something more than belief, curiosity, an insatiable yearning. What further truth will be revealed? As the night deepened, Elijah felt the weight of a new understanding upon him. This was not simply about proving the might of the Lord against Baal, it was an invitation to the people, a chance to journey beyond the fire, beyond fear, to explore the vastness of their own souls. He stepped closer to the altar's edge, feeling its heat not just with his body, but with his spirit. Will you walk this path? He called, yearning for something deeper to emerge. Can you trust in the God who sees you, who knows your hearts and desires to rekindle the flame within? As the stars began to twinkle in the sky, the tension in the atmosphere transformed from judgment to hope. Shadows danced nervously, unsure of their fate. But the questions that hovered remained unresolved, each heart testing the gravity of the moment. What would it take for them to choose this path of faith, to plunge into the unknown? Would the fire ignite within them, or would they retreat, tethered to the familiar chains of disbelief? With the embers flickering low and the cool whispers of night wrapping around the weary crowd, Elijah sensed a vital truth stirring in the depths of human hearts. He turned back to the multitude, faces illuminated by the ghostly light of the dying flames, each one a tapestry of doubts and deep-seated desires. The pulse of uncertainty echoed not only in the words spoken but in the unspoken weight of each breath held in anticipation. Just then, out of the stillness, a rustling broke the tension. From behind the altar stepped a figure draped in humility, an elder from the village, age etched upon his brow. His eyes shimmered with the wisdom forged through countless seasons, yet they shone with an urgency that belied his years. Elijah, he began, voice quivering but not from fear, who speaks of God, yet bears the weight of this conflict within? His question hung heavy in the air, a challenge to all present but also an invitation to introspection. Elijah felt the stirrings of the Spirit urging him to listen, not just speak but to understand the hearts that drew together in this moment of divine reckoning. Is it not true, the elder continued, gathering his courage, that to shift from Baal demands not just belief but a surrender of our very identities? The crowd shifted, uncertainty barely masked by their fidgeting. We have constructed our lives around what we know. Would we be willing to dismantle the foundations we have dearly built upon? Elijah nodded, his heart resonating with the elder's insight. Yes, friend, and therein lies the mystery. To embrace the God who sees requires shedding the layers we've worn for so long. Can we truly dare to unearth those parts of ourselves long buried, wrapped tightly in the fabric of fear and doubt? As the fire sputtered, attention shifted to the sky, where stars blinked down like scattered gems, as if listening carefully to this sacred exchange. The elder's brow creased in thought. But is awakening even possible? Will our faith survive the fierceness of such an inner conflict? With these words, the crowd fell silent, their collective breath held as if the very heavens awaited a response. Elijah felt within him a rush, a wave of clarity washing over the uncertainties that had lingered. Awakening is not a mere stroke of enlightenment, he declared, the fervor returning to his voice. It is a journey, a wrestling, a birth of something new. It may be painful, like the grit of a seed breaking the earth, but it is only through the struggle that life may emerge. Yet as he spoke, a flicker of doubt shadowed the elder's face. And what if we discover we have been wrong all along? What then of our loyalty, our families, our legacies? Can we endure the loss? Elijah paused, seeing the struggles mirrored in the eyes of those surrounding him. To confront these fears requires more than mere assent. It asks for a courageous heart, one that can embrace vulnerability before the Lord. Would we forsake the boundaries of fear to create space for love? Can we look to our collective scars and rise anew? At that moment, an unexpected gale swept through the valley. The crowd gasped, eyes turning toward the swirling winds as if they felt the very breath of the divine upon them. A young man at the rear, emboldened by Elijah's words, raised his voice above the tumult. But would we be alone in this seeking? When we step into the uncertainty, what assurance awaits us? The wind softened, yet an unshakable tension remained, balancing between longing and hesitation. Each person felt their own pulse quicken, aware of a choice looming ahead. Would they allow the specter of their past to stifle their search for redemption, or would they leap, trusting in the unseen? As Elijah looked upon the faces transformed, hope mingled with trepidation. He could not help but wonder, was the promised land of faith ahead, one that lay beyond the embrace of their fears, and would they summon the courage to reach for it? Would they trust in the God who beckoned them from the depths of their souls, stirring a flame that had long desired to burn brightly again? As the whispers of the night lingered, a sudden hush fell over the gathering as the wind withdrew, leaving only the soft crackling of the embers. Something stirred within the air, a chill that carried with it an inexplicable tension, as if the heavens had tilted slightly, preparing to unveil a deeper truth. The bright stars watched silently, their twinkling seeming to echo a question previously unspoken. Elijah scanned the faces before him, feeling a heavy weight of anticipation. Then, without warning, from the lingering shadows broke forth a figure, radiant and otherworldly. The crowd gasped as the entity revealed itself to be an angel, its presence illuminating the darkness with an ethereal glow. It hovered just above the ground, its wings unfurled and adorned with a shimmering light that seemed to carry messages from heaven. The elder, taken aback but unyielding, found his voice amidst the reverence. Why has this angel come before us? What is the purpose of this sudden revelation? The angel spoke, its voice like melodious thunder, reverberating through the still night. I have come with a reminder of divine endurance. Even prophets grapple with the shadows within their hearts, even the chosen feel the weight of uncertainty. It turned its gaze toward Elijah, who stood entranced, a myriad of thoughts swirling in his mind. What do you say, Elijah? Asked the angel, a challenge underscoring its words. Can a prophet rise authentically when pulled by the inexplicable force of the heavenly will, or will fear entangle him in the mundane? Elijah's heart raced as he felt the impact of the angel's questioning presence. I have grappled with my doubts, he admitted, feeling the tug of the past as strongly as I've felt the call of God. Yet I wonder, in what manner does one step without fear into their destiny? How does one walk in obedience without being swept away by the tempest of confronting their very nature? In response, the angel descended closer to him, gathering him into an embrace of light. Sometimes the journey of faith requires a forceful guiding hand. Even a great prophet is not above the need of persuasion, nor the divine gift of revelation bestowed in unexpected ways. How can one receive this if they shy away? The crowd leaned closer, captivated by the dialogue unfolding. There was palpable energy in the air, drawing them closer to the chasm between doubt and faith, a rift that trembled with potential. The angel then moved away from Elijah, its gaze sweeping over the assembly gathered around. You stand upon a threshold. Your identity is interwoven with the conflict, fear, family, and history are threads in a grand tapestry. You must choose: will you unravel it or allow my presence to guide you toward its completion? The young woman, emboldened by the angel's words, spoke up. But if we give up what we know, what assurance do we have that what lies ahead will not bring us more pain? What if the promises we seek are just illusions? Elijah stepped forward, emboldened by both the angel and the whispered doubts of the crowd. It is in the act of surrendering to the unknown that we find the deeper truths of our faith. To diminish our grasp on what we've built can be unnerving, yet, could it also be the very act that births something magnificent? The angel's eyes sparkled with insight, and it gestured to the gathering night sky. Fear not the challenge, the stars are witnesses, each a story of transformation, death and rebirth, struggle and triumph. Every soul has a tale of resilience woven through them. Can you allow those stories to teach you? As they contemplated this, a low rumble echoed in the distance. An invisible pulsing began to resonate in the bones of the earth itself. The crowd looked toward the horizon. Merging from the dark was a sign, perhaps a shifting of the tides of fate. No one moved, the air thick with unknown potential. The calm before the storm of decision. Elijah felt the convergence of thoughts and emotions. Each person stood at the precipice of a choice, a beckoning toward an uncharted realm of faith. Could they embrace the divine invitation to rise? Beyond the barriers erected by their own fears lay something vast and transformative. As he pondered, he felt a lingering question unfurl inside him: would they have the courage to embrace both the struggle and the promise that awaited them beyond the veil of uncertainty? As the rumble faded into a profound silence, the angel lingered in the midst of the gathering, which seemed to pulse with the energy of unspoken potential. The twilight sky deepened, draping the world in hues of indigo, as if the universe itself held its breath, waiting for a revelation. Elijah's mind raced as the wonder of the moment gnawed at him. What lay beyond this night? What deeper understanding awaited? "O angel, bearing the light of truth," Elijah called out, "will you reveal to us the story that beckons us, a story that might cleanse our fears and show us the path we must tread?" The angel, with its wings folding gracefully, lowered itself further until it stood upon the earth, illuminating the faces of the gathered with a golden glow. The tales of fervent seekers have always been intertwined with lessons veiled in trials, it began, with a voice both soothing and commanding. "I will share a lineage of resolve. Listen closely, for the journey is as much about the struggle as it is about the triumph." There was a collective shudder among the crowd. A child, seated at his mother's feet, stared wide-eyed as the angel continued. Long before the sun kissed the earth, there were stories of heavenly spirits caught between realms, angels sent forth to guide, to challenge, and at times, to wrestle with the very essence of humanity. They walked among mortals as beacons and as tests, demanding introspection and resilience. A murmur broke through the assembly as Elijah felt a bewitching curiosity tingle within him. Were they not merely messengers? He asked, unable to suppress his intrigue. Was there not an elevation to their calling that placed them beyond our earthly struggles? The angel smiled, a knowing twinkle in its celestial gaze. But you tread upon the threshold of misunderstanding. Each heavenly whisper bears weight. Journeys undertaken in faith are not exclusive to any realm. The echoes of the divine are felt through toil and despair, as much as through joy. All who partake in the dance with destiny share the same heartbeat. Bristling with anticipation, Elijah felt compelled to press further. Then tell us of a time when fear intertwined with faith, of a moment that revealed the power beyond mere existence. The angel took a deep breath, the air thickening as it unfurled another piece of the cosmic tapestry. There was a prophet long ago, who found himself ensnared in doubt as a raging storm bore down upon him. His name was Jacob, and in that turmoil he wrestled not only with the dark forces consuming him but also the shadow of his own heart. On that night, as he cried out to the heavens, he was lifted into a struggle unimaginable, one that revealed his deepest fears, his past hauntings, his longing for acceptance. Elijah's heart quickened. Each word resonated as if struck from the chords of his own life. "And what came of this struggle?" he urged, leaning forward in earnest. As dawn broke, the angel stated, its voice growing soft but powerful, the prophet emerged transformed, not merely blessed but changed. He became Israel, the one who wrestled with God and prevailed. It is in the act of confronting fear, of grappling with the very nature of existence, that a deeper identity is born. With bated breath, the crowd absorbed the import of the tale. Questions simmered, suspended in the air, as they considered the implications of their own struggles. Elijah, still processing the weight of the story, interjected, "But how can we reconcile our burdens with the call to rise? How can we, in our frailty, embrace such powerful transformations?" The angel, with a gentle rustling of its wings, cast the crowd an assuring glance. Transformation comes not from shying away but from the embrace of discomfort through the acceptance of both fear and faith. What if the very storms raging within you are but the forge in which your authenticity is crafted? Will you dare to step into that fire without forgetting your worth? As the night deepened, the air thickening around them, Elijah pondered these truths that hung like stars waiting to be acknowledged. He felt the weight of many hearts around him, each holding on to their fears and dreams, a collective yearning for direction. What would it take for each of them to confront their own storm, to find the courage to engage in their struggles? Was the path to becoming who they were meant to be aligned with letting go and wrestling openly with both doubt and faith? The questions spiraled around him, thickening the atmosphere with possibilities and fears. Elijah, enveloped in the sacred moment, felt his heart beating not just for himself but for the countless souls woven into the tapestry of doubt and faith surrounding him. As the angel's presence cast a golden hue over their gathering, Elijah lifted his voice, resonating with the call of purpose that echoed within him. Will you allow this story, this tale of struggle and resurrection, to bear witness to your journey? Can you see the divine beckoning forth from the depths of your despair? His words hung suspended, a bridge spanning the rift between resignation and hope. Suddenly, one by one, faces within the crowd began to embolden, hearts shifting as if stirred by the very breath of God. The young woman who had questioned the assurance of surrender stepped forward again, her voice trembling yet resolute. "What if we dare? What then lies beyond our fears?" Elijah took a steadying breath, each word unfurling as a balm upon parched spirits. "Beyond fear lies liberation. Each trial draws out sanguine hope, brings forth resilience. Just as Jacob wrestled at the river Jabbok and emerged renewed, so too can we embrace the path ahead." As he spoke, a realization dawned upon him. This assembly before him was not merely an audience, but a congregation of reckoning, their lives intertwined, pregnant with potential. The angel, sensing the rising tide of transformation, came forward, its light intensifying, illuminating the faces of those whose long-dormant faith began to flicker back to life. "Breathe deeply into this moment," it urged. "Awaken the resolve within you, not just for faith's sake, but for love's. Each act of trust you take is a step toward a greater love, the love that calls you from the depths of despair into the light of purpose." Encouraged by the angel's stirring words, a thick silence enveloped the crowd, once burdened by heaviness, now brimming with newfound resolve. Elijah looked out, witnessing eyes shimmering with echoes of past pain yet ignited by the prospect of renewal. Some reached for each other's hands, forming a connection that spanned the fractures of their previous doubts, but among them stood Ahab, the king whose heart had been clenched tight by pride and fear. Slowly, he raised his voice, breaking the reverent hush. "Elijah," he said, raw vulnerability creeping into his tone, "is it truly possible for me to abandon what I've cherished and follow a path so radically different? The weight of my legacy, my crown, how can I let go?" Elijah's heart surged for the beleaguered king, envisioning the storm that must rage within him. "You, Ahab, are not defined by your crown but by your choices. This awakening beckons you to seek a greater purpose beyond power. Are you not weary of ruling in darkness?" Elijah's voice pierced through the clouds of doubt shrouded around them, urging Ahab toward hope. "The crown can provide a momentary comfort," Ahab admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "Yet that comfort weighs heavier than any burden, for I've sacrificed my integrity, my people's hope, for the sake of appearances, fleeting gains." Elijah took a step forward, feeling the might of the Spirit reverberating in the air. It is never too late to expose the darkness for what it is, an illusion. Be that spark, Ahab, that ignites the flame of renewal. Embrace a different identity, one drenched in truth, that guides your people back to restoration. It is your moment to rise beyond the throne and become a servant of the Most High. As silence settled like a gentle cloak, Ahab's disposition shifted, the tension of defiance crumbling. "Can God still forgive me?" he asked, the question resonating like a whisper of the wind that rustled the leaves, uncertain yet hopeful. "Yes, Elijah proclaimed, "The heart of God's promise never falters. Look around you, Ahab, see the faces of those who seek a path back to truth. In their longing is your redemption, their desires echo the truth that we all seek. In humility, open your heart, and a new legacy shall unfold, with the angel by his side, both a keeper of divine promise and a harbinger of transformation." Elijah felt a burgeoning change unfurl within the valley as dawn's blush began to grace the horizon. An electricity pulsed through the gathering, the weight of despair lifting. The crowd began to murmur, voices intertwining within the fabric of hope, colors reappearing where gray once held sway. Finally, with a steady gaze, Ahab stepped forward, his shoulders squared as if shedding years of doubt. "Then let it begin with me. I seek a new path, led by truth. A new crown, one that knows humility. Might we rediscover who we can become when faith flourishes among us?" "Yes!" came the roar from the crowd, their voices rising as only an awakening that surged like a wave, reflecting the heartbeat of the divine. "Lead us toward the light. We are ready to confront our fears." And in that electric moment, the sky began to brighten. The sun's first rays cast a cascade of warmth over the assembly, glistening as if creation itself rejoiced. A palpable shift swept through the villagers, heads tilting toward the heavens, hearts bursting with vulnerability and newfound courage. The darkness that had threatened their yield began to fray, relinquishing its grip to the growing light. The angel, lingering with grace, smiled upon the congregation, its voice ringing out like thunder under a summer sky. "Blessed are the seekers, blessed are the willing. Rise into the challenge, for the divine threads of destiny weave richly through the tapestry of your hearts. Remember, the journey does not merely favor the fearless but those who embrace their fear yet leap forward into the unknown." As the crisp morning air filled their lungs, each soul felt the pressure of uncertainty shift. The storm had birthed resolve, the dawning day ushered a powerful revelation. Life was not a singular path unfurling perfectly but an interwoven tapestry of struggle, faith, and community. Elijah looked on, awash in the glow of hope that enveloped them all. The call was clear, they had crossed from shadows into light, from doubt into faith, casting aside the chains that had bound them for far too long. The fiery revelation had taken root, a rebirth that echoed in the whispers of the wind and the hearts of every individual standing among him. This was not merely the conclusion of one man's trial, but the collective rise of a people who dared to wrestle with their truths to become transformed in an embrace of divine embrace, of faith rekindled. And as Elijah stood amidst them, a quiet understanding settled over him. The angel had shown him a glimpse not only of his own path but of the magnificence possible when souls unite, daring to dance in both light and darkness, the dance that leads them to discover the depths of divine love awaiting them all.